The simplest books are the best. Going back through my Emily Henry books, I have realized that I've given every single book of hers 4 stars. Hello friends and welcome back. Today I'm going to be talking about Funny Story by Emily Henry. Yes, it's not so dark of books that I normally read, but it's been a kind of really good break between 2 horror books that I recently read. As usual, this video will be split into 2 parts. First part being spoiler-free for people to get a general idea of the book or decide if they want to read it, and then the second half of the video will contain spoilers for people who don't care or want to know more about my thoughts on the book. Alright, we are going to read the synopsis I have written for the book. Daphne has a new roommate, but not by choice. After getting dumped by her fiancé after his bachelor party for his I've never had feelings for her best friend, Daphne has been forced to move in with the best friend's ex, Miles. Now she's counting down the days till she can leave town while trying to live around the other lost soul in the apartment. This town has never been hers. She moved there for Peter. She never had friends of her own. They were always Peter's. And now she's hunting for jobs back home. But she's not prepared to be sucked into Miles' orbit when she lies about a new relationship with her ex. Lies about a new relationship to her ex. Or kissing Miles when they run into Peter. Or spending every Sunday with Miles so he can show her his version of town. Suddenly, the lines between what is fake and what is real blur as their shared trauma bubbles to the surface. Both suffering from abandonment, they might be the only 2 people who can save each other. Okay, that was like the worst synopsis read through that I've done. I am very. We're just gonna put it out there, friends. We're just gonna go right for the bullseye in all this. I need Emily Henry to shake up her protagonist's jobs, please. The books are getting slightly redundant in the fact that they are all in some sort of bookish realm. I'm pounding my soapbox that I'm standing on. But for real, we had an editor, a writer, now a librarian, and I'm trying to think of this other book where they were a travel writer was also her, and no, I'm blanking, but I believe it was. But she needs to change the careers because the stories are getting a little boring. Other than that, I did think of this kind of meet cute, awkward scenario. We have to share a single bed, not really. Single apartment was a lot of fun. I mean, essentially, we have Daphne, right? Oh god, here we go again. And we're starting out super strong, friends. Okay, Daphne. I need to have like a post-it note with the characters' names plastered right in front of me. Anyway, we have Daphne, whose fiance goes on his bachelor's trip celebration, and he takes his best friend, who is a girl. Sorry, this is a female-male romance. He invites his best friend along, and then I believe she confessed her love or whatever, and he decides to break up with his fiance to finally go for his best friend. So he swears he never had feelings with her before this moment. And the best friend then breaks up with her guy, and the only place for Daphne to go is to live with the best friend's ex, Miles. And it's kind of cute. When you read the book and you get to know more about Miles, you can definitely see why he would offer the spare room to Daphne in her time of need. So that is a believable thing. It's just, how many people would actually, in real life, really do that? Their time in the apartment is believable. I can see everything really blending out the way it is. And that is one thing that Emily Henry does an extremely good job with. Her books are about normal people doing normal things. I can't say that I have not found myself able to access any of these romance books. They are straight to the point. And honestly, they don't make huge jumps or leaps and bounds or crazy things that you yourself couldn't see yourself being into. I mean, yeah, maybe I wouldn't like fake a relationship with my roommate to prove to my ex that I was fine, but if we can get past that, everything else 100%. But also maybe I would fake a relationship, let's be honest. How many of us have been put in that position and would really know what we would do in that situation? For me, Emily Henry's books really strongly rely on the characters because the books are so normal and they're so approachable. You have to find a connection with the characters, and I'm not gonna lie, the beginning of this book was really rough for me. I could not connect to Daphne, I could not connect to Miles, I could not connect to any of the characters in the book. I would say it took me almost half the book to find something enjoyable. But remember, 4 stars. I've given all of her books 4 stars. Halfway in, I did connect to the characters and forget the first half of the book. I fully started to enjoy myself. I started to enjoy the fact that it was a normal, relaxing, the world is not going to end tonight kind of book. I mean, so many books that I read, especially because I read a lot of horror, so many of the books I'm just sitting on the edge of my seat waiting for the other shoe to drop. And Emily Henry is a book where the shoe will not drop. And the shoe is going to lightly touch the ground at the appropriate moment. Because this is all a formula when you write romance. And honestly, if you're looking for something where you're not too, like, wanting to get emotionally upset, then I would definitely say Emily Henry is the perfect beat treat for you. And remember how I said the shoe gently touches the ground at the appropriate moment. We all know that there's going to be the moment when the two love interests can no longer be in agreement and they have to have some sort of fight or disagreement, and we're all supposed to go, oh no, they're not ever going to get back together, and then we can reconcile all these differences and finally be able to just tell each other we love each other. Okay, so this definitely happens in the book. And that was probably the worst part of the book for me because it didn't fit the characters exactly. There was a buildup of this backstory with Miles to lead into why he made the choices that he did and why the results were what they were, but it wasn't enough of a believability for me to be like, okay, I believe this, I can make the same mistake. And if we're gonna write normal books about normal people, we have to have normal scenarios. Now, I'm not a normal person because I communicate everything with my partner. It's like my number one thing. If people ask me for relationship advice, I have 2 things I always tell them. 1, the guy always has to be more infatuated with the girl than the girl is with the guy. Don't at me. I have examples. And 2, communication. And so maybe I can't relate to the breakup because I would be like, communicate, asshole. Like, you guys need to talk. And that is a pet peeve of mine. I do not like books where lack of communication is the inciting incident, okay? Hell no. And I wouldn't say this is entirely lack of communication, but I would say 75% of the mistake in this moment is lack of communication, and I don't like that. But let me think about the book as a whole, and the ending is extremely sweet. And I still ended up liking the characters, and I still got the warm fuzzies inside. And that is why the book still got 4 stars for me, because I can't help it. I can't help it. This is one of those guilty pleasures I have where I see everything else I read and I look at this and I'm like, how does the fuck this funny story or Emily Henry ever meet into the box of what I like to read? But if you're like me and you also have this one little oops, you're not alone, because I do too. And I'm also going to forgive myself because Emily Henry and I started a relationship when she was a YA author. Before she jumped ship and entered this new genre, I knew her then. And so, I'm going to pick up her next book and then just get sucked in. All right, friends. Click away. Destroy my metrics because I'm going to have spoilers now. All right, I'm going to go back to the whole character point of view. I think that a lot of us could grasp the idea that Daphne broke up with her fiance and then she had no other option because she has no family in town and really no friends because all of her friends are Peters. I mean, I know that is something that some of you probably have experienced where, like, all your friends are your partners, okay? And because of that, the only available person was technically Miles, and Miles had a spare room. So easy peasy. And I think it's also mentioned in the book the fact that Miles needs help with the rent because he was living in a 2-salary household at the time. And so it just made sense for her to have a quick exit and move in with Miles. It's still weird. It's still an interesting choice of plot and inciting incident, but it works. And I think as readers, we can grasp that pretty quickly. We don't need a long-ass explanation of what happened. And I think that is the problem of why I was not into the story. I did not care so much about how we got into the situation we were. I wanted to know how we were going to get out of it and what the romantic interest of the plot was going to be. But the book spends a lot of time in the beginning setting up this backstory, setting up these characters, and creating this picture for you. And it wasn't until we moved past that and we got to more of this is the fun rom-com trope of we're going to have these 2 characters interact to make them fall in love, is when I was able to fully get into the story and the characters and all the things that I like about Emily Henry books. Because really, if you like an Emily Henry book, again, you have to like the characters. Now, I want to say that this is Emily Henry's largest cast of characters. I do know that the one with the two writers living next door to each other, was it Beach Read? I don't remember. But that one, I do know that there was a book club in it and some other people in town, but I don't believe there was as large of a cast consistently in the book like there is in Funny Story. So I think this is a stretch for her. And I appreciate her branching out, since I don't think she's branching out of her formula at all. I mean, I think a large portion of us could probably come up with a crazy meet cute and then write a story about it. Now, with the cast of characters, she also added in-depth backstories for both of them. Backstories that I think are super on the nose, like in a good way, not in a bad way, and extremely well fleshed out. To the point that I was slightly triggered by the book, because they're too reminiscent of my family. And because I have this connection and experience with this type of family dynamics, I think I can say without a shadow of a doubt that she does a very good job, and I have authority in them because I live in those situations. And I do think that even though her formula and her process of creating a contemporary romance, rom-com, whatever, is the same, she did try to push herself with a little bit more depth and cast of characters. And I appreciated that, because when I couldn't connect to Daphne and Miles, I just connected to this town. Let's get to this whole inciting incident, the moment the shoe drops that they hate each other. That was really hard for me to get around. I get that he has issues of people not thinking, or him not being there for people, or something of that line. And he wants to leave before, because no one sees him. And so I get more of why he went to go help his ex Petra. I do agree that is a possibility. He heard such distress in her voice at his first reaction because of his background is to always be the helper and the fixer. Now, him not calling Daphne back and giving a reason for why things happened the way that they happened is way too unbelievable for me. And I really struggled with that. I struggled with him just being like, oh, I'm sorry I didn't make it. Oh, I'm sorry I'm busy. Who fucking does that unless you're cheating? Okay, no one does that. So when it came to that, I really just wanted to turn the page and just fucking pull Miles out of this damn book and shake his fucking head and just be like, you're being an idiot. Because this is not how relationships work. Really, it just went from being hot and heavy with everyone to suddenly being like, I'm not gonna love you anymore, and we're gonna have issues. I would say Daphne's reaction to what he did was more believable, but still, when you're faced with this person in front of you telling you that essentially they love you but they can't trust you and there's all these issues, why wouldn't you offer an explanation? Aren't we all hardwired to offer some sort of explanation as to why we did what we did? For real? And so that's my problem. And I don't like it. Really, I don't have a lot more spoiler content. The town was cute. I appreciate that she really writes in locations that she knows. I feel like when you pick up an Emily Henry book, you really know what you're going to expect. There's nothing crazy going to happen. It's the same formula. It's the same kind of sweet characters. Not that it reminds me. I'm not comparing these two because the Lovelight Farm series is above and beyond better than this. But it's that idea. Lovelight is set in this idyllic town, and we know when we read that series that we're going to be in this idyllic town. And side quest, I've lent what I own of the series to a friend, and she's also just as obsessed with it. So I'm telling you guys, you need to read this book, okay? But when you pick that up, you know what to expect, you know the characters, you know the world. And I think that instead of writing all her love stories in the same quote universe, Emily Henry goes to making them in the same state, which is fine, right? What you know. I mean, I don't think I could write every book of mine set in Florida. That one book, well, technically I'm writing 2 set in Florida, done, over. So I appreciate it, but wait, was one book not? Now I'm just really confused into what I read, because now I'm like, I have this other book and I'm not sure if it's hers, and anyway, friends, I don't have a lot more spoilers to say. I think the biggest one for me was the disagreement of what broke them up in the formulaic part. Do we ever just want a romance book that doesn't have that? That transitions from the second to the third act? Could we just have a romance book where they just love each other and we don't have that oh no, hopeless moment, would people read it? I mean, we would buy the book to begin with, and then we just never would have it, but we would still read it. But then how do we know it's not going to happen in future books? Thought, comment below. What are your thoughts on this? Because maybe we could just have love. Could we just have a book that's just all of this, just without the breakup and the disagreement, and just have them love each other from start to finish? Like, could we do this? Thank you so much, friends. I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I did making it. If you liked it, please subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. And make sure to check out our channel for all the other reviews, especially if you're a reader like me. Don't worry, Funny Story is an outlier, okay? My books are normally a lot darker. So if you're here for the darker stuff and you're like, why the hell is she recording Funny Story? Well, sometimes the horror reader needs a break. Also, make sure to check out the podcast that I host with another writing friend. We have writing updates, content recaps, industry trend topics, and a horror book club. But anyway, thank you so much, friends. Have a magical day.